Tom Cruise, Hollywood's most dangerous illusion. For decades, he's deceived the world with that dazzling smile, but behind the scenes, a ruthless manipulator, a destroyer of lives, a man so toxic that even his own peers can't stand him. Justin Bieber despises him so much he once wanted to take his head off. And Alec Baldwin? Beyond furious, because Cruise didn't just wreak havoc on his ex-wives, he even attempted to seduce Baldwin's daughter. But the mask is slipping. And now, 12 stars are ready to rip it off and expose the shocking, ugly truth about the man Hollywood fears the most. Brad Pitt. The war between two Hollywood kings. Brad Pitt's hatred for Tom Cruise isn't just some petty Hollywood drama. It's a war that has raged for over 3 decades. Ever since their tense collaboration on Interview with the Vampire, 1994, Pitt has harbored a deep resentment toward Cruise. And honestly, who could blame him? Even back then, Pitt made his feelings clear. He bugged me. There came a point during filming when I really started resenting him. He's the North Pole, I'm the South. That wasn't just a casual remark. It was a declaration of war. Pitt couldn't stand Cruise's relentless need to dominate, to always be the loudest voice in the room. While Pitt valued authenticity, Cruise thrived on what Pitt saw as an artificial, forced charm. And if that weren't enough, an unspoken, insufferable competition was brewing between them. Fast forward to 2009, Pitt still hadn't cooled off. That year, both actors starred in World War II dramas. Pitt in the critically acclaimed Inglourious Bastards and Cruise in the disastrous Valkyrie. Did Pitt take the high road? Absolutely not. He publicly mocked Valkyrie, calling it a ridiculous movie. For Cruise, a man with an ego the size of a planet, it was the ultimate humiliation. But what could he do? The numbers spoke for themselves. Pitt had crushed him, and he knew it. Their rivalry never faded. Pitt reportedly keeps a personal blacklist of actors he refuses to work with, and sitting proudly on that list, Tom Cruise. For 30 years, they haven't shared the screen, and they never will. While Pitt remains one of Hollywood's most respected actors, Cruise is trapped in his world of cult-like secrecy and relentless self-promotion. If anything, Pitt's resentment has only aged like fine wine, growing richer, stronger, and more justified with time. Justin Bieber. I want to rip his head off. Brad Pitt's disdain for Tom Cruise is nothing compared to Justin Bieber's outright hostility. For reasons still unknown, Bieber has an intense grudge against Cruise. Maybe it's Cruise's well-documented arrogance and manipulative nature, traits that seem to inspire contempt from nearly everyone around him. In 2019, Bieber sent the internet into a frenzy when he openly challenged Cruise to a fight, tweeting, "I want to challenge Tom Cruise to fight in the octagon. Tom, if you don't take this fight, you're scared, and you will never live it down." Fans were stunned. What had Cruise done to provoke such aggression? Some speculate Bieber's animosity stems from, and the mystery continues. Notorious ego and the way he treats those beneath him. Tom Cruise has long been accused of belittling co-stars, enforcing bizarre Scientology-driven rules on set, and obsessively controlling every aspect of a film's production, often to the point of alienating those around him. Given his reputation, it's no surprise that Justin Bieber might have simply had enough. Hollywood is filled with whispers about Cruise's behavior, his unsettling, robotic laugh, his obsession with dominance, and his relentless demand for unwavering loyalty. If even Brad Pitt, a man known for his laid-back demeanor, was pushed to resentment, then Bieber's unprompted challenge suddenly doesn't seem so random. Adding fuel to the fire, Bieber later posted a video of himself kicking the cap off a bottle, boldly stating, "This could be Tom Cruise's head." The sheer venom behind those words suggests that Bieber's hostility wasn't just a joke, despite his later claims to TMZ that he was only messing around. Whether it was a publicity stunt or a genuine challenge, Bieber's aggression toward Cruise follows a pattern. Time and time again, Cruise's toxic presence seems to infect those around him. If a pop star with no prior connection to Cruise suddenly wants to knock him out, maybe it's time to ask, what exactly is Tom Cruise doing to make so many powerful men despise him? Katie Holmes, The Survivor, a woman and a daughter, lucky to be free. Katie Holmes didn't just leave Tom Cruise, she escaped him, like a prisoner fleeing captivity. What the world saw as a fairy tale Hollywood romance was, in reality, a suffocating nightmare, dictated by Cruise's obsession with control and his chilling ties to Scientology. Here's how Tom Cruise shattered this woman's life and left her with nothing but eternal hatred for him. Behind their exaggerated public displays of affection, Holmes was allegedly trapped, monitored, and controlled. Every move she made was under Scientology's watchful eye. And then came the most disturbing revelation: was their love even real, or had she merely been chosen? The whispers grew louder. The Church of Scientology had allegedly conducted secret wife auditions for Cruise. Holmes hadn't fallen in love. She had been selected, cast into the role of wife in a twisted, scripted fantasy. And when she couldn't take it anymore, she had to plan her escape in complete secrecy, terrified that Cruise's power and influence would crush her before she could break free. But the nightmare didn't end after their divorce. Even then, Cruise reportedly tried to own her. He allegedly demanded she not date anyone publicly for 5 years, as if she were still his property. Yet nothing compared to the ultimate cruelty, what he did to their daughter, Suri. Reports claim that Cruise abandoned Suri entirely, vanishing from her life without a trace, as if she no longer existed. Was this his final punishment for Holmes daring to defy him? Did the Church of Scientology dictate his every move? To this day, no one dares to dig too deep, fearing the wrath of this sinister organization. Now, Holmes has risen from the ashes, forging her own path, far from Cruise's shadow. And as for Suri, she's growing up without a father, and maybe, just maybe, that's for the best. Because one thing is clear: Katie Holmes didn't just divorce Tom Cruise, she survived him. John Travolta. The betrayal that changed everything. John Travolta's hatred for Tom Cruise isn't just another Hollywood rivalry. It's the story of a brutal betrayal within the twisted world of Scientology. Travolta was once the golden boy of the church, its most loyal disciple, the one who spent years defending its name. But then, Tom Cruise entered the picture, and the story only gets darker from there. John Travolta, the betrayal that cost him everything. With his smug smile and ruthless ambition, Tom Cruise changed everything. Almost overnight, he became Scientology's golden child, gaining direct access to leader David Miscavige, while John Travolta, once the church's prized disciple, was shoved into the shadows like an outdated relic. Former Scientology member Brendan Teagues exposed the brutal truth. Cruise is the only select with a direct line to Miscavige. Travolta never had that. He doesn't get anything for free, no extravagant gifts, no special treatment. No one's handing him airplane hangars, custom-made motorcycles, or absurd favors. But this wasn't just favoritism, it was raw, unchallenged power. Cruise wasn't just admired by Miscavige, he was untouchable. He got whatever he wanted, no questions asked. Meanwhile, even the most loyal members, Travolta included, were left to fend for themselves. And still, that wasn't enough for Cruise. He didn't just want to be the face of Scientology, he wanted absolute control. Behind the scenes, he allegedly used his influence to ensure no one could challenge him, pushing out anyone who stood in his way. Travolta, once a dominant figure within the church, found himself stripped of his status, forced to watch as Cruise climbed higher and higher, stepping over him in the very organization Travolta had dedicated years to serving. It was the ultimate betrayal. While Cruise continued ruling Scientology like a dictator, receiving VIP treatment and demanding unwavering obedience, Travolta was left to fade into the background. His career survived, but the wound never healed. The message was clear: when Tom Cruise wants something, he takes it, and not even John Travolta could stop him. Nicole Kidman. Beauty and the Beast. For 11 years, Nicole Kidman lived under Tom Cruise's control, trapped in a marriage that drained her of joy, freedom, and even her sense of identity. Looking back, she admitted, "I was so young when I got married. I look back now and think, what was I doing?" By the time she realized the mistake, it was too late. Cruise had already worn down her spirit, leaving her hollow and isolated. Even in her moments of triumph, the scars of their marriage lingered. When she won an Oscar for The Hours, she stood there clutching the golden statue, but instead of feeling victorious, she was drowning in loneliness. I was holding a gold statue, and I was the loneliest I had ever been. What kind of life had Cruise left her with, where even success felt like sorrow? But the real cruelty came when he blindsided her with divorce, discarding her like an unwanted prop. Kidman later revealed, "It took me a very long time to heal. It was a shock to my system. But this wasn't just a breakup, it was exile. She was cast out, left to navigate the wreckage while Cruise moved on as if she had never existed. He had taken her youth, her happiness, and in the end, even her dignity. But unlike Cruise, trapped in his delusional kingdom, Kidman rose from the ashes. She rebuilt herself, found love again with Keith Urban, and proved that no matter how much Cruise tried to destroy her, she was stronger than him. Judd Apatow, the takedown that shattered Tom Cruise's ego. Judd Apatow didn't just crack jokes about Tom Cruise, he torched him in front of Hollywood's elite. While most of the industry tiptoes around Cruise's bizarre antics, Apatow ripped the mask off, exposing the unsettling reality behind the action star's carefully crafted image. Hosting the Directors Guild of America Awards, Apatow started off light, mocking Cruise's height. The special effects in Top Gun, Maverick were so good, I couldn't even see the stack of books Tom Cruise had to sit on to reach the flight controls. Then, the gloves came off. He called Cruise a lunatic, bringing up the infamous Oprah couch jumping incident. A meltdown that should have been Hollywood's first red flag. And then, he delivered the ultimate takedown. Tom is not fine. Someone needs to explain to him that there's this thing called CGI. The audience laughed, but the truth behind those words cut deep. Apatow had done what so few in Hollywood dared to. He exposed the real Tom Cruise. And for Cruise, who thrives on control and adoration, that might just be the biggest blow of all. Judd Apatow. The joke that cut deeper than Tom Cruise's ego. Sure, Judd Apatow's roast of Tom Cruise was laced with humor, but beneath the jokes was a hard truth. Apatow wasn't just mocking Cruise's reckless obsession with death-defying stunts. He saw the bigger picture. Every insane stunt Cruise pulls isn't just about adrenaline. It's practically a walking, talking recruitment ad for Scientology. Apatow called it out bluntly. Every time he does one of these stunts, it feels like an ad for Scientology. I mean, is that in Dianetics? Because there's nothing about jumping off a cliff in the Torah. But his most brutal dig hit Cruise where it really hurt. Apatow ended his roast with a knockout punch. Maybe, just maybe, Tom wouldn't be hurling himself off cliffs if he just took antidepressants. It was a direct hit at Cruise's infamous rant against psychiatric medication, a belief system that isn't just misguided, but actively dangerous. While Cruise continues to live in his delusional world, Apatow walked away from that night with something Tom will never have: respect for calling out the truth. Mark Wahlberg. The verbal smackdown that ended any chance of friendship. Mark Wahlberg never had much love for Tom Cruise, but in 2013, that simmering dislike turned into full-blown rage. It all started when Cruise, in his usual self-important way, compared his grueling movie work to fighting in Afghanistan. Yes, you read that right. Tom actually suggested that his Hollywood stunts were on par with the sacrifices of real soldiers. That was the moment Wahlberg snapped. Without even mentioning Cruise's name, Wahlberg tore into him in a fiery rant. For actors to sit there and talk about, "Oh, I went to SEAL training, I slept on the..." I don't give a horse is what you did. You don't do what these guys did. His frustration boiled over as he called out the sheer audacity of comparing movie sets to war zones, adding, "How dare you?" while you sit in a makeup chair for 2 hours. And just like that, any chance of them ever working together was dead on arrival. Of course, Cruise's PR team scrambled for damage control, insisting he was joking and that he supports the troops. But the damage was done. Wahlberg, who starred in Lone Survivor, a film based on real military heroism, had seen enough of Cruise's Hollywood fantasy world. Tom might be the king of action movies, but in real life, Wahlberg saw him for what he really was, just another pampered actor with an overinflated ego. Russell Crowe. The man who chose loyalty over Hollywood politics. Russell Crowe doesn't just hold grudges, he buries them deep. And when it comes to Tom Cruise, Crowe has made one thing clear. The Top Gun star is persona non grata. Their animosity wasn't just cold, it was an ice age. While filming The Mummy in 2017, whispers spread that Crowe couldn't stand Cruise. The reason? Nicole Kidman. Crowe, fiercely loyal to his friends, saw Cruise as the villain in Kidman's life, and he wasn't about to play nice with someone he believed had wronged her. A source spilled the tea. Russell is a loyal guy and never forgave Tom for the way he treated Nicole. If they had stayed friends, he would have felt like he was betraying her, and knowing Crowe, that was never an option. Unlike Cruise, who collects ex-wives like action movie sequels, Crowe values loyalty above all else. His friendship with Kidman stretches back to their early days in Australia, long before Hollywood sunk its claws into them. They met at a party where Kidman botched a cocktail and ended up serving beer instead, an experience Crowe clearly found far more enjoyable than sharing a film set with Cruise. The divorce between Cruise and Kidman wasn't just public, it was brutal, filled with Scientology-fueled chaos that left Kidman emotionally wrecked. Crowe saw the wreckage, took his stance, and never wavered. On set, the tension between him and Cruise was palpable. Crowe wasn't about to fake camaraderie. And Cruise, ever the Hollywood puppet master, found himself facing something he couldn't manipulate: real loyalty. Russell Crowe, the one star Tom Cruise couldn't control. For once, Tom Cruise found himself at odds with someone he couldn't charm or control. And the result? The Mummy bombed spectacularly. A fitting disaster for a film poisoned by bad blood. Meanwhile, Crowe moved on to critically acclaimed projects, while Cruise continued his relentless pursuit of impossible missions, both on-screen and in real life. Alec Baldwin, Stay the Hell Away from My Daughter. Alec Baldwin has never been one to hold his tongue, and when it comes to Tom Cruise, his disdain runs deep. Cruise didn't even need to be in the room for Baldwin to roast him publicly. He did just that at the 2009 Elle Women in Hollywood Gala. While addressing equal pay in the industry, Baldwin took a direct shot at Cruise's outrageous earnings. I believe we can balance the scales if Tom Cruise would lower his quote by a mere $29 million. I realize this may be a bit unfair since he's not here to defend himself, and I really don't want to put this all on one man. But if I had to, that man would be Tom Cruise. The audience laughed, but Baldwin wasn't just joking. He was making a statement. He didn't just think Cruise was overpaid. He saw him as the epitome of Hollywood greed, but Baldwin's grudge ran deeper than money. Behind the scenes, Cruise's deep ties to Scientology made things even messier. Baldwin was reportedly furious when Cruise's cult-like organization allegedly tried to recruit his daughter, Ireland Baldwin, into their ranks. For a man known for his fiery temper, this was personal. Cruise, ever the master manipulator, had wormed his way into Hollywood's elite, raking in absurd amounts of money while his co-stars struggled to match his paycheck. Meanwhile, Baldwin, who built his career on talent rather than theatrics and stunts, saw Cruise as the ultimate Hollywood con man. Someone who smiled for the cameras while running an empire of secrecy and exploitation. Despite their tension, Baldwin and Cruise begrudgingly worked together on Rock of Ages and Mission. Impossible. But their animosity never truly faded. Baldwin, ever the outspoken critic, continued mocking the industry Cruise dominated. Meanwhile, Cruise carried on, unbothered, still making millions, still dodging scandals, still so powerful that even his enemies had to tolerate him. For now. Brooke Shields, the woman who finally shut Tom Cruise up. Tom Cruise loves the sound of his own voice. But in 2005, he crossed a line even he couldn't walk back. His target, Brooke Shields. Her crime, speaking openly about her struggles with postpartum depression. To most, her honesty was brave. But to Cruise, a die-hard Scientologist, mental illness wasn't real, and neither were the antidepressants that helped Shields recover. In a now infamous Access Hollywood interview, Cruise smugly dismissed her experience, calling her use of medication irresponsible. As if that wasn't degrading enough, he took a condescending swipe at her career. I care about Brooke Shields because I think she is an incredibly talented woman, but look at where her career has gone. That was it. Shields was done playing nice. She fired back with a brutal takedown in the New York Times, exposing Cruise's ignorance with surgical precision. I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but after Tom Cruise's interview with Matt Lauer, I feel compelled to speak, not just for myself. And from that moment on, Cruise learned the hard way. Messing with Brooke Shields was a bad idea. Brooke Shields, the clapback that silenced. Tom Cruise. Brooke Shields didn't just speak for herself. She spoke for the hundreds of thousands of women who have battled postpartum depression. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that Mr. Cruise has never suffered from postpartum depression. Then came the knockout punch. When People magazine asked her about Cruise's self-righteous rant, she didn't hold back. Tom should stick to saving the world from aliens and let women decide what treatment options are best for them. It was a shocking betrayal, considering they once shared the screen in Endless Love, 1981. But after this, Shields made it very clear. She wanted nothing to do with Cruise ever again. Eventually, Cruise mumbled out an apology, but even Shields admitted it was barely sincere. In her memoir, she wrote, "It wasn't the world's best apology, but it's what he was capable of, and I accepted it." Still, the damage was done. Shields turned the controversy into a platform to support struggling mothers. Cruise, he just kept running his mouth, acting like he was the world's leading expert on medicine and psychology. Lisa Marie Presley, the woman who escaped from Scientology's grip. Lisa Marie Presley didn't just dislike Tom Cruise, she despised him, and she wasn't shy about saying it. "I feasting hate Tom. I met him 20 years ago, and I said I never want to be in a room with him again." But why such unfiltered hatred? The answer lies in her long, complicated history with Scientology, a twisted web that Cruise helped spin. Presley had been pulled into the church as a child, groomed to be one of its biggest celebrity advocates. But by the time she left in 2014, she saw it for what it really was, a machine designed to control and exploit. And Cruise, Scientology's golden boy, represented everything she wanted to escape. After inheriting her father's fortune at 25, the church pressured Presley to become a recruiter, using her famous name to lure in others. "They started grooming me to be this person who would go out and get everyone else in," she admitted. Even her then-husband Michael Jackson wasn't safe. They wanted him too. But Presley wasn't one to be manipulated. She saw through Cruise's arrogant, messianic devotion to the church, and it disgusted her. Unlike John Travolta, whom she still considered a friend after leaving, she had nothing but contempt for Cruise. Her hatred wasn't just about his blind loyalty to Scientology. It was personal. Maybe it was his inflated ego, his constant need for control, or the way he used his star power to push the church's agenda. Whatever it was, Presley made sure to keep her distance. And in the end, while Cruise remained Scientology's most famous puppet, Presley broke free. Though she passed away in 2023 at just 54, her legacy lived on, not just as Elvis's daughter, but as a woman who refused to be controlled by Tom Cruise or the cult he represented. Mickey Rourke, golden boy, or just another plastic action figure? Mickey Rourke doesn't just dislike Tom Cruise. He mocks him, and he doesn't hold back. When asked about Cruise's billion-dollar success with Top Gun, Maverick, Rourke snapped, "That don't mean cesspool to me." His contempt practically dripped through the screen, but he didn't stop there. He took a direct shot at Cruise's acting, calling him a one-trick pony who's been playing the same damn role for 35 years. To Rourke, Cruise is nothing more than a soulless blockbuster machine, churning out hollow performances while pretending to be a serious actor. Unlike Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and Christopher Walken, men Rourke deeply respects, Cruise, in his eyes, is nothing more than an overpaid action figure. And the worst part? Hollywood keeps feeding into the illusion, showering Cruise with praise and billion-dollar paychecks. Rourke's words didn't just expose his hatred for Cruise. They ripped apart the Hollywood fantasy, revealing the empty spectacle behind the world's most famous movie star. They shattered the carefully constructed illusion Tom Cruise has spent decades building. His perfect teeth, high-octane stunts, and relentless need for control. He presents himself as Hollywood's ultimate leading man, but behind the flashy smiles and box office dominance lies a disturbing truth, one that Mickey Rourke has no problem calling out. Unlike real actors who evolve, take risks, and disappear into their roles, Cruise plays it safe, clinging to the same tired formula for decades. For him, it's never been about artistic growth. It's about money, power, and maintaining his grip on Hollywood, an industry that seems blind to the fact that his performances have all blurred into one lifeless character. But Rourke saw through it. And he made it clear, he wants no part of Cruise's artificial kingdom. Yet, despite his brutal honesty, Rourke remains a respected, if controversial, figure in Hollywood. His career has seen ups and downs, but he still commands attention, starring in films that reflect his raw, uncompromising spirit. Meanwhile, Cruise may have his billion-dollar blockbusters, but to actors like Rourke, he's just another Hollywood product, flashy, empty, and utterly irrelevant. On paper, Tom Cruise may still be Hollywood's golden boy, but behind the scenes, the truth is impossible to ignore. His own peers can't stand him. Cruise has built a career on repetition, control, and a carefully crafted illusion of greatness. But the cracks are showing. More and more stars are speaking out, exposing the man behind the mask. His billion-dollar movies can't hide the fact that in Hollywood, respect matters more than ticket sales. And for Cruise, that respect is crumbling fast. Maybe the world is finally waking up.